Good evening, I'm Harry Keeling, and on behalf of the Alaskan Aviation Safety Foundation and Alaska Public Media, welcome back to Hangar Flying. This is our third session with Dr. Petra Illig, Senior Aviation Medical Examiner, and she's talked about some very interesting subjects, starting out with the role of the AME, why do we have flight physicals. Last time she spoke about some of the grounding conditions and how to get ungrounded. And tonight we're going to talk about the positive side of this and some of the things that you as pilots can do to stay healthy and hopefully avoid some of these conditions. Petra, welcome back.
Thank you.
So let's talk about the positive. What can pilots do to stay healthy and fit for flying?
Well, the human body is in many respects a machine just like the airplane, and it requires certain treatments, certain specifications, and I think if people follow the general rules of good health, which is to eat properly, exercise regularly, get rest to your best ability, and then also follow what I call the human maintenance checklist, depending on your family history, personal history, age, and gender, then pretty much you can stay on track. I always explain to pilots that if they take care of themselves in a systematic sort of way, then their medical certificate will almost always follow.
Okay, well let's talk about the negative side. What are some of the bad choices that pilots make and maybe should be some of the bad choices, like being overweight?
Well, it's not just pilots.
Yeah.
It's a big struggle in today's lives where we don't physically work as hard as we maybe we're designed to. We sit around a lot, we sit at computers a lot, but certainly eating on the run, skipping breakfast is bad, overeating at night to make up for your growling stomach, and then not getting that regular exercise, and then of course getting regular sleep, which is really hard in this society. If you're a parent, many pilots are parents, their kids are supposed to be in school already by 7 a.m. I mean, that's not reasonable. Humans weren't built that way. And I think also in the world of pilots and what they like to avoid having to do with their health is they have a tendency to want to avoid getting their regular non-FAA medical exams. A lot of times they don't want a problem uncovered because they think that it'll significantly impact or negatively impact their medical certification. And I say to these pilots, do you fly with your instrument panel covered up too? As long as the propeller's going round and around, everything's okay.
So one of the topics that has come up recently, our viewers may not know about, or some of them, is the subject of BMI. Can you talk about that?
Yes, body mass index is a reference number that takes into consideration your height and your weight and creates a number that is basically pegs you into a normal weight, an overweight, or an obesity category. Unfortunately, those numbers that you calculate are not terribly accurate because people come in different densities in their core. Some people are big boned and heavy muscled, and some people are thinner boned. And so those guides, those graphs, are not terribly accurate. You can be more accurate if you do a water displacement test, a dunk tank test, for example, or even more accuracy with certain kinds of CAT scans. But in general, body mass index is just basically a guide to say how much fat do you have on your body, that excess fat that doesn't belong there. And it has a lot of relationships with certain things like sleep apnea.
Now, I'm a little unclear. Has the rule been passed where if you have a BMI over 40?
No, it's still up for debate. I think it's quite reasonable. We already have rules for blood pressure numbers. We have rules for blood sugars. And we know that those particular numbers have a high association with certain kinds of severe medical conditions. And I think we are getting a greater understanding that a high BMI not only has a significant negative impact on your health by increasing your risk of heart disease, cerebral vascular disease, strokes, diabetes, cancers, but it also increases your risk for sleep apnea. And sleep apnea basically is a condition where you quit breathing several times throughout the night, sometimes so frequently that you really don't get much sleep. And that increases your risk for heart attack or stroke. So it's not just being drowsy and not at your peak performance during the day, but it also increases your risk dramatically for having terrible medical outcomes.
Wow. Petra, thank you for being on the show tonight. Thank you for the all three sessions. It's been very educational, and I appreciate your dedication to aviation safety.
Thanks a lot. It's been fun.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed tonight's program. I'd like to remind you that the Safety Foundation is in fact sponsored by you. It's member sponsored, member supported, and starting the first of the year, you can go pick, click, and give and donate part of your PFD for our organization so that we can bring programs like this to you. And have a happy new year, and until next time, fly safe.